Hi, my name is Sid and I'm a product manager at Akamai. I'm here today to demo the Promotional Deployment CLI. This new beta capability enables our users to automate the propagation of Akamai configuration changes within their CI/CD pipelines. Before getting into the demo, let me take a step back and talk about what the heck that even means. Forget CDN changes for a while. Today, almost all development teams have a pipeline set up to test their code changes in different environments before they eventually make it out to production. Typically, these might be dev, integration, QA. They could be called whatever, could be as many or as few as desired. A developer will make a code change in the dev environment, test it out, promote it to the integration environment, test it out, promote it to the next environment, and so on and on until eventually making it out to production. Continuous integration essentially is iterating upon and automating this whole pipeline with some kind of a build automation tool. Jenkins, Circle CI, Travis CI, pick your favorite tool over here. So where do CDNs come in? We hear from our users that they have a similar setup for CDN changes. Over here, I've just called out different environments, but typically a CDN-based change for caching rules, changing behaviors or rules would look like something like this. A developer will make the change in their first environment, test it out, then have to manually make this in their next environment, test it out, manually make this in their next environment, test this out, and so on and on. The gray portions over here obviously represent an often painful process for complex configuration files or big or valuable properties. Often they can represent lost time, lost energy, a lot of valuable resources, even professional services hours in a lot of cases. This is really the pain that promotional deployment addresses. At its simplest level, promotional deployment provides you a tool to promote your configuration changes across environments without any manual intervention. This really is the blue arrows over here are the value that promotional deployment brings in your pipeline. And really, this provides you the power to treat your Akamai change as like any other change in your environment. Automate it within your pipeline, even integrate it into an existing CI pipeline that you already have. Basically, promotional deployment enables you to have more automation, more self-service, fewer manual errors, most importantly, the time to do whatever it is that you want to do. As with anything in life, a demo is always a lot more helpful than PowerPoint slides. So let me show you how this works. This is a website that I have renamed to Akamai today, www.sidstaqueria.com. If you're hungry, our drones will deliver delicious tacos right to your window. Obviously, chorizo tacos are the reason we are here today, so let me show you how promotional deployment would work. Imagine I have a big promotional event coming up. I expect lots of people to order lots of tacos over my website and want to make sure I'm completely prepared. I want to play around with a bunch of rules and behaviors to figure out what my optimum caching strategy should be in the days leading up to this. Obviously, I still want to make sure that these changes are completely vetted before putting them out in production, but I want to get them out as quickly as possible too. This is where promotional deployment comes in. In this example, I'll show you two things. First is how to do a one-time setup of the CLI to mimic your existing release pipeline, and two, how to automate the process of promotion of changes. So let's get started by just installing the promotional deployment CLI. If you're already using the Akamai CLI, amazing. You do not need to do anything else to set up your credentials or account. If not, definitely check it out. github.com/akamai/CLI is the place where you'll find lots of info about this cool tool. In this case, I simply install the promotional deployment package through the CLI. Just because it's in beta today, I'm using a local file available to our beta users. Very soon, this will simply be another package available as an open source CLI package. So right here, I would run Akamai install promotional deployment, and let's see what happens. It's doing a bunch of npm installs in the background, running all of the installation packages. Let's try zooming in a bit here. The installation should take about 30 seconds. And that's it. The first thing I do, that one step was the installation and credential setup. The first thing I do is see what Promotional, verify whether the package was actually installed. I do an Akamai help, see my visitor prioritization, purge property manager packages, and there's Promotional deployment. So let's see what this thing can do. It's got a bunch of cool options. I'm going to start off by just creating a new pipeline. I'm going to use the new project command for this. I did this previously, so let me just give it a new pipeline name. Let's call it demo pipeline. I do this for my existing config for www.sidstakeria.com, pass it a bunch of account specific information, and the environments I want to create: dev, QA, and prod. If you're like me and never remember your account specific information, do not fear. The Promotional deployment CLI also has a bunch of options that lets you pull this out really quickly on the fly. So my pipeline's all set up. What this really did was created a parameterized version of my config file in the form of a directory structure at the backend. I can now use all of these different variables to define my specific environments. So let me go in here, see demo pipeline. I go in here into environments, variable definitions. In this case, I see hostname and content provider codes. My environments are only separated by hostname, so I use a generic CP code. Depending on how you've set up your environments, you can add a bunch of other parameterized variables over here. So you're not limited by just these two. You can add more, get rid of any, do a bunch of things. Let me now go into my individual environments and define them. So for my dev, I'm using my host name dev.sidstakeria.com. For my QA, I'm using qa.sidstakeria.com. And for my prod, I'm using www.sidstakeria.com. And that's it. That was my setup. I now go back to my terminal, verify everything is fine. Use the lstat command. And I see my 3 environments. That was my one-time setup. You can set up your pipeline and then forget it for as long as you want. So now let's get back to our Taco Day example and get into the crux of Promotional deployment. Once everything is set up, how do you promote changes without any manual intervention? In our example here, I'm going to take the simplest example of just changing a TTL within my configuration. So I go back to my demo pipeline structure. The Promotional deployment CLI does a really great job of letting you edit your configs as code. It breaks down your config file, the top level rules, into a bunch of templates that you see over here. So it's really easy to change anything within the config file. In the case of a TTL, I'm going to change my static template. I have it set up to 1 day right now. Let's change this to 30 minutes. Save it, go back to our terminal, and run the Akamai promote command. Akamai pd promote. I mention my pipeline name. Mention I want to promote it to my dev environment and notify me once this is done. All this is doing is picking up the change we just made and promoting this to my dev environment. The promote command also has a built-in validation engine, so if there's something wrong with your syntax, it will let you know. Once the change is activated in your dev environment, assume you run a bunch of tests, figure out everything is working well, and now you want to test the same thing in QA. This is where the power of promotional deployment really kicks in. All you need to do is recreate this command and promote it into QA, or you could even build a hook within your testing environment so that a Jenkins job or a Circle CI job picks up that the tests are done and then kicks off the promote command. So we run the same command for QA. And once this is done, my tests make sure everything's running fine in QA, and eventually I promote it to production. Same command, replace QA by prod. And I'm live. Again, I can go through this pipeline as many times as I like, automate it as much as I want, and eventually I get ready for my big taco day. If you are interested in trying out this cool new feature, bit.ly/AkamaiPD is where you can sign up. Again, that's bit.ly/AkamaiPD. Thank you for taking the time to watch this demo.